This is the Impressions Xchange podcast.
Impressions Xchange podcast.
Where all topics impacting the graphic imaging and printing industry are addressed via in-depth news coverage, analysis, and timely interviews inside the commercial, packaging, wide format, and in-plant communities.
Hi, this is Bob Neubauer, editor of In-Plant Impressions and the host of today's Impressions Xchange podcast. The Black Lives Matter protests that erupted around the country in May after the killing of George Floyd by police have changed the way many of us think about racial injustice and made us reflect on the way we think about and treat minorities. In the United States printing industry, people of color make up only a modest percentage of those in executive and management positions. Rising to that level takes a lot of hard work to begin with, but for minorities, there are additional hurdles often not spoken about. Extra scrutiny of their work, wage disparities, a lack of respect, and so on. In my 30 years covering the printing industry, I've met and befriended many African American in-plant managers, but I hadn't really considered the different experiences and obstacles they may have faced coming up through the ranks because of the color of their skin. A few months ago, I organized an informal Zoom conference call with a half dozen African-American in-plant managers to talk about this, and I learned a lot about the subtle discrimination they've faced in their careers, things many of us never thought about before. To talk more about this, I brought in one of the participants in that call, a man I've known for many years, Alvin Griffin, manager of the Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools Graphic Production Center. Welcome, Alvin.
Good morning, Bob.
Well, school just started there. How busy has the in-plant been these past few weeks?
It's been an unusual opening of schools. We ended the school on a bang because we were in COVID protocol for the last 7 weeks or so. And then summer was the usual kind of stuff. And now that the school year started, our students are actually doing the virtual thing like most other places are doing, but we're still kind of busy supporting our community partners. One of the community partners that we work with would be our Department of Social Services, and you could imagine food applications and those things like that, just a sign of the times.
Yes, indeed. Well, when did you start as manager of Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools Graphic Production Center?
I'm going to be celebrating my 20th anniversary with CMS this month. So it was September of 2000 is when I came on board.
Now, you're a veteran of several in-plants. You worked at Winthrop University in South Carolina, and before that you helped create the in-plant for the Prince William School Board right out of high school. What was that experience like?
Oh man, I tell you, Bob, I started studying printing in junior high school, and you took the usual courses going through high school and those kinds of things, but I probably learned more about printing the first 3 weeks in the real world than I did all of those courses in high school. It was quite an adventure walking into a place where there was no equipment. There was a plan. They knew what they wanted to do, but we were just tasked with trying to get the deliverables together to be able to pull a place together from ground zero. Nothing like that. It was quite an experience.
Yeah, that's a great way to start out in the printing career. You get your hands dirty setting up an in-plant.
Yeah.
Was there a time when you got a big break, when someone really helped your career?
Yeah, my big break came in 1976 with the school system. I was right out of high school. I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. Had quit the part-time job that I had in high school because of the way that I was being treated unfairly. So I just walked away from it. And that was the first and last time I've ever actually quit a job. And so I'm sitting at home, and 2 days later, I get a phone call, and it was my graphic arts teacher from high school. His name was David White. And David White had been in contact with the school system, and they had asked for the person that they thought would be most likely to succeed in opening up that shop. And we had been with Dave since 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, just sitting back there in that lab and studying communications and printing and drafting and those kinds of things. And he gave me that break. He recommended me for that position. And like I said, I still think about David to this day.
Were you headed toward a graphic arts career at that point, or did he start you on that path?
He really started me down that path. We had studied drafting in school and stuff, and I thought I wanted to be an architect, and that just didn't play out. And like I said, I was hoping to be able to go to college. Financially, we weren't able to pull that off. And so I was working a job, actually was almost a full-time job all the way through high school at a hospital, actually managed their employee cafeteria from 3 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock every day. Right after school, I'd go over there and manage that. And that's where I learned some of my management skills and how to go about reading people and treating people right. And trust was given to me to handle that shop. Everybody else went home, and I managed the cafeteria, ran the grill, served the employees, those kinds of things. And one day, or 1 month, I just ran into a situation where it was kind of race related, and I couldn't stand it, and I just quit. And like I said, after that, wondering what I was going to do.
Well, as a young African-American man in the printing industry back in the 70s, trying to get your career started, were there situations you faced because of your race that made it more difficult for you to get ahead?
Looking back on it, Bob, like we tend to do sometimes, because this is actually year 44 for me, doing implants pretty much exclusively. That's all I've done is just manage implants and working them. Thinking back on it, you realize there was a lot of things that were going on that you may or may not realize. When I was young, 17, 18 years old, when I came out of high school, and as we said, this was the mid 70s. And yeah, there were some things going on, just thinking about it, that were kind of barriers, but you kind of just work through them. Looking back now, thinking about Prince William County Schools, my title on the books was a warehouse worker for the whole 5 years that I was there. And I thinking about it now, I know that was kind of strange. And over the years, I put two and two together as to why it stayed that way. A slightly unusual situation. I didn't realize it at the time that I took this job, that the person that was my supervisor, eventually I married his niece. And so, after this was all, after we were married and going on along and such, she filled in some blanks for me. Let's just put it like that. So. Yeah.
So when you took the job at Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, you had employees who had been there for years. What was their reaction when they met you?
Let me give you a little bit of a story on that one. I came from Winthrop University and came here to Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools. I was on the fence, loyal to Winthrop. I'd been there for 7 years and really loved that job. I loved the people that I was working with and such, but commute was starting to get sort of long. It was 60 miles a day round trip, and opportunity here at Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools offered two things. It was a different environment to work in, and financially it was going to put us in a better place. Mm-hmm. So I'm weighing whether I wanted to come to work here. And what I did was I snuck into this operation on a Saturday. The gates were open, drove up to it. The front door was unlocked. I walk into it. I walked back into the press room, and there were two employees there, both senior press operators, one minority and one, Jimmy, was a white guy. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't tell them who I was or nothing. I'm just looking around the shop and such and just chatting with them. And they were running the presses and stuff, just doing the usual Saturday stuff. And then I finally told them, I said, well, let me go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Alvin Griffin, and I'm going to be your director a week from Monday. And the looks on their faces pretty much told it all. One of them was really, really happy. Started smiling. The other one had a look on his face, and I think that Jimmy would like to take that look back. Since then, Jimmy and I have become excellent friends, buddies. Jimmy's retired now, and I still check in on Jimmy, and he wouldn't mind me telling y'all the story, and neither would Jerry. But I think that was enlightening for me.
Wow. Yeah, it's that kind of subtle reaction that you've probably had to deal with more than once.
Yeah, the subtleties, it's so sneaky. Mm-hmm. Given a choice, you'd rather have it blatant. You'd rather have somebody just come out and tell you what they think. That's the way that I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, how have you grown to deal with that kind of reaction over the years?
Well, it comes with maturity. I've taken an approach towards, if you're going to look at it being a problem, I've grown to realize that it's not my problem. That if somebody wants to look at you through those colored glasses, then that's their problem. And I've grown to leave that behind, Bob. One of the things that I guess that growing up on our road, I won't say it was a street because it was a country road back in Manassas, Virginia,
Mhm.
There was it was a black community with one white family there, the Campbells, and they were just the best people ever. They would do anything for you. Tommy and I grew up together, went to school together, played in each other's yards together. The community raised everybody. And so we left all of that behind, as I was growing up as a child of the 60s. The school district that I was in was segregated up until third grade for me. And then third grade, we moved from what was an all black school, which pretty much 90% of the black kids that were in Prince William County went to Jenny Dean. And it was in first grade through 12. Everybody went there, bused from who knows how far away to get to desegregation. And so I moved from Jenny Dean to Westgate Elementary, all white school. And so you walk into that and you look around and you realize, hey, it's different. And that's okay. And you just roll with it.
Yeah.
You roll with it.
Yep. That is the best way to deal with it, I think.
I think so.
Now, you had said to me in an earlier conversation we had that in your career you feel you've had to work twice as hard because of your race. Can you explain what you meant and maybe give an example?
Well, a lot of that, Bob, is my personal take on the thing. I've always worked hard, and I've always been one that if I didn't have the knowledge of something, I was going to try to acquire it, and then I was going to apply that. And I never wanted my work ethic to be questioned. But I know for a fact, and I can go back to that first job at Prince William County Schools, the person that came in after me, there was a lot of things that happened with pay grade there that corrected things because of the situation. And as I mentioned earlier, the person that hired me, he didn't know at that time that I was seeing his niece that was also an employee of the school system. And so you hear things. And then after we left, both of us left about the same time. I moved over to Prince William County government. I left that job at the school board for $1 more. It wasn't a question of money, but I just knew that I needed to get away from that management at that time. And that was a big part of it. And so a good friend of mine came in behind me and immediately was able to get a salary that I never was able to reach. And that kind of set the tone for that you felt like that. I felt like that I really needed to continue to work hard.
Yeah.
Work hard and let my work ethic and the things that I was able to accomplish speak for those people that were doubters. Because today there's still doubters. There are doubters out there. Yeah. And you do that to pave the way for the people that are coming behind you.
Right. Have you ever had the situation where you felt your employees just didn't accept you as their boss and didn't respect you?
I can say that, yes, I have, but we're able to turn those tables pretty quickly. The person that was here before me actually went off on vacation and passed away. And so 6 months time period goes by where they're looking for a replacement, and they were in serious discussion of closing the shop. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to come up here also. I'd learned through the grapevine that the shop was in really bad shape. So that was part of the decision-making process from leaving Winthrop 2 to come up here and see if I could straighten the thing out. And so I reached an agreement with the person that hired me. I told him, give me a year. If you and I can't figure this thing out in a year, hey, you can have the keys back, but at least I know that I came up and tried. So, you come in, you walk into a place and there were people working here that had applied for the job and were passed over. Some people with tenure passed over for the position. So that's always going to make it a little bit bumpy, that they may not see, they don't fully understand why decisions were always made. And then you always have that race card too. And some of that was in play, but we were able to turn that in the first 6 months because we just made decisions, communicated to the people why we were making the decisions, that they weren't being based on this, that, or the other, but they were being based on financial and truth. Do you guys want the shop to stay on viable, or do you want somebody else to have it? And then you just work your tail off.
Yeah. Have you talked with other African-American implant managers about situations in their printing careers where they've faced prejudice and how it may have hindered them?
Yeah, we do have dialogue about it because as implant managers, we all tend to be very, very supportive of what it is that we're trying to do career-wise. So we do have a lot of dialogue about it. And if you think about where we are as a nation and you think about the inroads that we've made since 1964, and with John Lewis's recent passing and things like that, and the struggles that everybody in this country has had, the times have changed. And so it does open up an opportunity to talk about these things and being realistic about them. And that's the good thing about them. If you can have dialogue about where we are as a country, as a society, and be open to listen to it, and then it's going to give you a chance to realize that people have challenges. Yeah. And then hopefully you can work things out. But yeah, we talk about it, and there's a lot of similarities. And then when you find these similarities, eventually somebody will say, what do you think is the cause of this? And then if you're open about it, you could say that a lot of it comes down to race and comes down to how people view you. And it's kind of sad that people do that, but it's the truth of the matter. Yeah. And you could apply a lot of the things that have happened to me, remove the race from it, Bob, and just say that it was a woman, and you'd find the same challenges, dude. You would.
Well, Alvin, the implant industry has changed a lot in the past 20, 30 years, and it's a much more diverse place made up of many different types of implant managers. Why would you say that diversity is important?
Well, if you think about where your next generation of employees are going to come from, and that next generation of employees could be minorities, and when we talk about minorities, we could just say they could be females. Let's just use that one as an example. And with the females, strong in the workplace as far as print industry goes. They've reached the point of leadership, and given a chance to reach that point of leadership, that's going to encourage all other minorities, all females, blacks, anybody to continue in this workplace. And so by opening up that door, that just is going to strengthen all of us in the future. Print's always going to be here. I think that our biggest challenge is going to be where we're going to get the next generation of print employees from.
The one thing I always kind of wondered about, I mean, I've known you for many years, seen you at many IPMA conferences, but I also noticed that the majority of folks at those conferences are white people. And I kind of wonder, is there ever a level of discomfort when you're there? Like, maybe you're on an island by yourself, or how do you react when you go to a conference and find yourself, in the minority?
The first few years, that was something that I would give thought to. Thinking about the first conference that I actually went to, and I'm going to go ahead and name names, but John Sarntakis greeted me at the door. I think that we were in Tunica. Mm-hmm. And he greeted me at the door, extended his hand and shook and introduced him and welcomed me to IPMA. And I didn't know who John was at the time. I think he may have been president or something. He was on the board or something along that lines. And I recall that conference, there were maybe 3 minorities there. Mm-hmm. And I remember us kind of following each other around, sitting at the same tables. Yeah. Now, fast forward 15 years or however long it's been since Tunica. And of course, it's changed. Comfort level amongst all of us, everybody, all of our IPMA members is changed. And I think a lot of that has to do with, as we spoke earlier, just diversity in the numbers, be it female, be it minorities, all of those things have helped. So we don't feel like that we're on that island as much as we used to. And we do talk about those days, how they used to be, and how much we're glad to see it change.
What would you most like your fellow print managers to understand about the challenges minority managers face in this industry?
I think that speaking as a whole, if I was going to give people a better understanding of some of the challenges that we have is I would try to, if you could, think about minorities where we are in society. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, Bob, and this is just me speaking, that right now, today, what we see going on in society, it's not easy being a black man. Mm. It's not. We it goes past what you see on television. Yeah, that's a big part of it. And the movement that you see going on, a lot of people would say that it's being driven by some of the shootings that you've seen and some of the social inequities that we've seen and the social injustice and things like that. But it's bigger than that. It's bigger than just being black. It's about all people being equal and all people being treated the same. And that's really all we really want is to be treated the same, given the same chances to do what John Lewis asked us to be able to do on that bridge back 55 years ago, or however long it's been, when he walked with Martin Luther King and stood up for those things and the right to be able to, and then you fill in the blanks. Yeah. That's all we really want to have, the right to be able to, given a chance to succeed.
Yeah. Well, Alvin, it has been so great talking with you today, and I really do appreciate you taking the time for this. I really look forward to seeing you again at that next conference, whenever that may be, when we can be together in person again.
Bobby, we appreciate everything that you do for our industry and stuff. And you're going to hear this from me. You're going to hear this from everybody that knows the hard work that you do. That please just keep it up. You've been so supportive over the years that I've known you, and we all appreciate you.
Thanks, Alvin.
You're welcome.